Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop. And today we're going to be doing a versus video between the Nike A1 and the Nike Sabrina 2. Just by the way, which shoe do you guys think looks better? I don't know, I feel like it's tough. I feel like a lot of people like both of the shoes, but for me, I think the A1 just looks a little bit cleaner, you know, especially with the colorways as well. Hopefully this shoe comes out on Nike ID. That would be freaking awesome. But yeah, as far as the price goes, it sucks because Nike increased the price for all their shoes by $5, which it's just $5, not a huge deal, but it's just still like, why Nike? It's already tough as it is, you know. Why are you guys increasing the price? You know what I mean? So this shoe used to retail for $110, but now it's $115. And then Sabrina 2s, it used to retail for $130, but now it's $135, which sucks. But yeah, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get either of these shoes, it does help me out if you buy through the free link in the description box. And also my socks are available if you guys do want a really nice kind of versatile sock that you can work out in, hoop in, and also just casually go out in, then you know, the sock that I made is a really good option because it has a lot more padding than the normal sock, but a little bit less padding than the basketball sock. Because in my personal opinion, I feel like I can't really wear basketball socks casually. It's just too thick, it's too hot, it has too much padding. So I put a little bit less padding than that, right? So very nice looking, a comfortable sock, and a link to that will be in the description box as well. But yeah, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, right? So if you're playing on a clean court, both of these shoes have a top tier bite. You're gonna be good to go, right? So yeah, the Sabrina 2, we have kind of like a herringbone traction pattern, right, pretty much, and it's like semi-translucent in this colorway, but still has a top tier, right? Like amazing stop if you're playing on a clean court, right? The A1, same thing. You have a really nice stop. We have a solid white rubber outsole, right? And yeah, it stops pretty much just as hard as the Sabrina 2. So yeah, tied up for clean court. Amazing stops. If you're gonna be playing on a dusty court, also both of these shoes have really good dust performance. I had really no issues with either of them. They both pick up very minimal dust. I would say the A1 picks up just a tiny bit more dust if we're nitpicking, but still very good dust performance for both of these shoes. And they both also bite through dust extremely well. So you should be fine if you're playing on a dusty court for both of these shoes. And also for durability, I don't know, guys. I mean, maybe the Sabrina 2 is just a tiny, no, I don't know. I don't even think the Sabrina 2s would be better. Maybe just tied up. I don't think either of these shoes would be the best option for like outdoor use. They're both like softer as far as the rubber goes, and the grooves are around the same as far as the thickness goes too. So probably not recommended for either of these shoes. But yeah, if you're playing on an indoor court, both of these shoes have top tier amazing traction. Also, both of these shoes have a really nice loud high pitched squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but if you like to have a nice loud squeak, both of these shoes are extremely loud. However, I would say if I'm nitpicking, the Sabrina 2 is a little bit louder and also a little bit more high pitched. And now moving on to the heel to toe transition. Also, that's where it gets a little bit different, however, right? So the A1 has a more supportive, sturdier, springier feel, right? So here in the heel, they're both really smooth, right? Nice curved shape. Sabrina 2, not as curved, but the actual foam is really soft. So here in the heel, a very smooth heel to toe transition when you're kind of like heel striking for both of them, right? And coming here into the forward, they also have a nice curved shape, right? So very smooth for the overall shape. However, the A1, first of all, has better torsion support, right? It's a stiffer feel, and also it's actually a lot harder to flex here in the forward, but it's still able to flex, which I like, right? But here in the Sabrina 2s, way more flexible and nimble feeling. It has worse torsion support and also a lot more flexibility. It's a lot easier to flex here in the forefoot as well. Not that it's, you know, good or bad. I mean, obviously if you need torsion support, the A1 is going to be better. But if you want more of like a, you know, softer, flexible, nimble feel, the Sabrina 2 is better. It still is able to flex and it's still flexible, especially in the forefoot, but has more of like a supportive, sturdier, stiffer feel underneath your foot. For me, I like both, but I would say I like the A1 a little bit better because I like to have a little bit more of a stiffer, springier feel. But either way, they're both smooth feeling when you're doing heel dominant strides. And none of them, neither of these shoes are like clunky or anything, you know? So there's a heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup. Also, it is a little bit different here, right? So both of these shoes are using Cushlon. The Sabrina 2 is using like a dual density Cushlon. So it's like, you know, just a little bit stiff around, you know, the perimeter of the, you know, midsole, and then it's a little bit softer for the core, but they're both using Cushlon, right? Also, the Sabrina 2 is using a forefoot zoom unit, which has a nice kind of like little bounce in the forefoot, but nothing amazing, of course. But as far as the core feel goes, the Sabrina 2 is definitely lower to the ground. The Sabrina 2 definitely has like the best, or like one of the best core feels that you can get right now, right? So amazing core feel, you're super duper low to the ground. It still has a nice plush feel from the Cushlon, especially once I get going, you know, for an underfoot cushion, it's still like, it's soft, right? But the A1 is just softer and a little bit more comfortable, especially because it's a little bit thicker, it's a little bit higher up off the ground. It's not even like the A1 has terrible core feel or anything though. It still has good core feel. It's just the Sabrina 2 is just insane. It's just really freaking low to the ground, right? So yeah, it still has good core feel, but a little bit higher up off the ground, but it is softer and a little bit more plush and a little bit more comfortable for underfoot cushion, and it's for the entire footbed as well, like forefoot, midfoot, and heel. Again, Sabrina 2 still has a nice kind of like, you know, comfortable feel for underfoot, but A1's a little bit more comfortable. As far as the heel compression goes, they're around the same, you know what I mean? And also, as far as the impact protection goes, the Sabrina 2 is still pretty nice. I still like don't have any issues, you know, with landing hard in the shoe at all. Like my feet don't hurt too much, but the A1's just a little bit better, of course, because has a little bit more cushion. So yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing the Sabrina 2 does a little bit better is the forefoot cushion with the forefoot zoom unit, but still, it's still plush here in the A1 because, you know, the cushion line is a little bit thicker. So I don't even mind the A1 not having a zoom unit, you know what I mean? And I guess the other thing is the core feel, but again, like, I guess you're not really gonna notice, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, the only time I noticed the like kind of worst core feel in the A1 is when I was switching from like the A1 to the Sabrina 2 or vice versa, or wearing these shoes at the same exact time. But I feel like, you know, if a normal person, you know, is just like, oh, they just try the A1 on, they're not gonna be like, oh, it's terrible core feel or anything like that, you know what I mean? So yeah, in my personal opinion, I feel like I like the A1 a little bit better just because it's a little bit more plush, it's a little bit softer, you know, for the entire footbed, for the underfoot cushion, while still having a responsive feel and still has nice core feel, right? So there is a cushioning setup there. Still, again, Sabrina 2 still like nice, right? So there's that. Moving on to the upper, also a very different feel. The only thing that's kind of like similar, I would say, is like they're around the same thickness, I would say. You know what I mean? But the A1 just feels a lot stiffer, right? The A1 is really soft now though. Now that it's broken in, it has a nice soft feel. Converts to my foot still really, really well, but it still has like kind of like a little bit more of like a supportiveness to it, a little bit more of a rigidness to it, you know what I mean? It still kind of like doesn't indent in as easily, right? But for the Sabrinas, these are just, look at this. It's just a really soft feel. It doesn't feel glued down at all. As far as the overall kind of like quality goes, I don't know. They're both kind of cheap, you know? I feel like Nike just, with the quality of the materials, you know, their shoes, I feel like isn't the best as far as like the past couple years ago. But if I were to nitpick though, I would say the Sabrina 2 feels a little bit cheaper. But one thing I don't like about the A1, which has nothing to do with performance, is that it just creases a lot. And I've never seen like a mesh material crease so much. But yeah, it's just a lot of crease marks. You know what I mean? And it just looks so much more used than the Sabrina 2. I don't know if it's coming out on camera. Usually it's a little bit harder to tell, but yeah, anyways. So yeah, here in the toe box, you know, it's again around the same thing. This Sabrina 2 is a little bit thinner. It's a lot less glued down, a little bit less kind of like supportive feeling, you know what I mean? So also here in the midfoot, same exact thing, but it just gets a little bit more easy to tell, you know? So here in the midfoot, the A1 is just a lot stiffer, a lot sturdier feeling as well. But the Sabrina, look at this. Look at that. You know what I mean? It's just a really soft, collapsible material. It's not that it's bad for the Sabrina 2 because it still has like adequate support, but it's just like, it's just a different feel, you know what I mean? And like, I can't really do that as easily, you know what I mean, here in the A1. As far as the tongue goes, however, yeah, I would say the A1 has just a tiny bit more padding, but still not super cozy, you know? They're both half booty construction tongues, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And I guess, you know, the Sabrinas have these kind of like, it looks like flywire, but it's not. But they're just like these extra straps, you know. It doesn't do too much. Maybe it helps a little bit with the lockdown, a little bit with the support, but it's a really thin material, you know what I mean? And also here in the ankle area, like on the sides, I would say it's pretty much around the same. Maybe the A1's just a tiny bit thicker, just a tiny bit, but it's not that different. Also here in the back of the shoe, it's around the same as well. So of course it all depends on what your taste is, right? Again, it has a similar feel, as in the thickness is pretty similar, but the A1 just has more like a sturdier, stiffer, more supportive feel. But again, it's still like soft and cozy feeling. But the Sabrina 2 has a more minimal feel, you know what I mean? So yeah, there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to my Nike size for both of these shoes because all my Nike shoes have been running a little bit, you know, short. So yeah, I go up half a size for all my Nike shoes, right? And yeah, I went the exact same size in both of these shoes, and the A1s are a little bit more snug, right? So they're a little bit shorter, way more snug here in the toe box, and also a lot narrower, right? So if you don't like that, then go up half a size from your Nike size. Here in the A1. The Sabrina 2 is a really nice fit for me though. You know what I mean? It's a nice snug fit. I don't mind it at all. Here in the A1, it's just a little bit more snug for me. And I would say I don't wear these casually though, you know what I mean? The A1s are just way too snug for me to wear casually. When I'm hooping in these though, I don't mind it because I like a really snug fit, you know, when I hoop. But the Sabrina 2, I could definitely wear casually because it's a little bit looser. It's still a snug fit, however, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot looser than the A1. You know what I mean? So just be careful with that. You know, the A1 is a really snug fit. But for me, when I'm hooping though, I feel like I like the A1 just a tiny bit better because it is more snug. I don't know, it's just a little bit weird because one thing I don't like, however, is my big toe. My big toe is definitely getting smushed and squeezed, which is a little bit uncomfortable when I'm playing. Sabrina 2's definitely not as much, you know what I mean? But I do like the more snug fit in the A1. It's a little bit of a toss-up for me, you know what I mean? But I guess I'll just tie it up. You know, I like both. So I guess because of the big toe, I like the Sabrina 2's a little bit better, you know? But again, I do like the snug fit of the A1. But anyways, just keep in mind, the A1's a really snug fit. Sabrina 2, still really snug, but not as snug as the A1. So there's the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. So yeah, that's also another place where these shoes feel pretty dang different, right? So the Sabrina 2s, I had zero issues with support. You know, very it's not a supportive shoe, but it was adequate for me. And again, keep in mind, I am like an average weight, you know? So yeah, this shoe, as far as the lateral containment goes, you know, you have the foam coming up. We have an internal TPU heel counter. My foot's not coming out of the footbed here in the Sabrina 2s, right? Really at all. But the A1, not only does it have the lateral counters, but also the upper is a lot more supportive feeling. It's a lot stiffer, a lot sturdier. So it just felt a little bit more kind of like supportive, I guess, you know what I mean? And I would say, you know, when I'm playing the Sabrina 2, it just feels a little bit more like, I don't know, my foot's not moving inside of the shoe. It just feels a little bit more, it's just a different feel. It's weird because not only is the upper softer and not as like stiff feeling, but also the entire shoe, like the bottom of the shoe, is really flexible as well, which is a huge difference in how the A1 feels. Because again, this is a lot stiffer, a lot sturdier feeling for the bottom of your foot as well as for the upper, right? So yeah, if you do like a more supportive feel, then go with the A1s. But if you like a more like, I guess, flexible, nimble feel, then go with the Sabrina 2s, right? And also, as far as lateral stability goes, I was fine in both of these shoes. They're both, yeah, they're pretty much the same exact width. Maybe the Sabrina 2 just by a little bit, but they're both around the same, you know what I mean? So lateral stability was good for me in both of the shoes. I had zero heel slippage. Support and lockdown, again, the Sabrina 2 is adequate for me. But if you are a bigger dude, I guess, or you want a little bit more of a supportive feel, then go with the A1s, right? So there's that. Moving on to the weight of the shoe, the Sabrina 2 is definitely lighter. Yeah, so it comes in at 10.95, so pretty much 11 ounces. And then the A1 is 12 ounces. So the Sabrina 2 is around an ounce and a half lighter than average, and the A1 is like half an ounce lighter, you know? So yeah, the Sabrina 2, extremely lightweight. And also, again, very flexible, very nimble feeling, and also really freaking responsive because just you're so low to the ground, the traction is so good, right? The A1, but still the A1 is really responsive. You know, you got amazing traction, cushion's still really responsive, but comfortable, you know, and it just has a little bit more of a stiffer, a little bit more supportive feel. But it's not that it's like stiff as in like it feels like a brick though, you know what I mean? It's just stiffer than the Sabrina 2. It's like this shoe's still like has a nice kind of like flexible feel comparing it to, you know, old school shoes like the foam posits, you know what I mean? But comparing to the Sabrina 2, it's a little bit stiffer feeling, right? But yeah, if you want to feel quick and responsive and fast, then both of these shoes, you're gonna be good to go. It just has a different feel to them when you're playing it, you know what I mean? So there is the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics, again, A1 looks better, but the Sabrina 2 is still a really, really good looking shoe. And now moving on to the ventilation, yeah, Sabrina 2 is gonna be better. The material, especially with the screen mesh, has a little bit more airflow than the A1. The A1 pretty much has zero airflow, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And now moving on to durability, I mean, okay, the Sabrina 2 doesn't feel super durable because, you know, the upper just feels kind of cheap, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it'll last a long time. The A1 definitely feels like it'll last a little bit longer because it's stiffer, but again, with the crease marks and stuff like that, you know, if you're playing in these shoes, I definitely feel like it just looks just not as good, you know what I mean? But, you know, that has nothing to do with performance, right? So now wrapping things up, oof, I don't know, guys. I mean, the A1 is just so nice. I really freaking enjoyed playing this shoe, guys. Like, I really, really liked it. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I would pick the A1 over the Sabrina 2. You know what I mean? Besides the traction, the traction for the Sabrina 2 is a little bit better for the dust performance, but the cushion, in my personal opinion, is a little bit better because it's just softer. It still has a nice, like, flexible feel, but a little bit springier and a stiffer and sturdier feeling, which I like better. The upper also, again, it's still soft and conforms to my foot very well, but it still has a really nice supportive feel to it. It's a little bit cozier, a little bit more comfortable too, which I like. And also it just looks better, you know what I mean? Which has nothing to do with performance. So in my personal opinion, and also it being what, $20 cheaper, I would say I like the A1 just a tiny bit better, right? But again, can't go wrong with the Sabrina 2. Sabrina 2 is still really freaking nice. Top tier traction, cushion, great core feel, still has adequate impact protection, nice kind of like little bounce, you know, a little bit of comfort as well, especially for the underfoot cushion, but still more on like the stiffer side of things. And the upper, really minimal. Shoes extremely lightweight and responsive, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old, you know what I mean? But I like the more supportive and also kind of like the softer cushion in the A1. So yeah, if you're a guard though, again, they're both top tier performers. They're both amazing shoes, but it is a different feel. So keep that in mind when you're, you know, contemplating which shoe to get. You know what I mean? Again, more flexible, a little bit more stiff, a little bit sturdier, supportive feeling, right? So anyways, that about concludes this versus video. Hope this video helped you guys out. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave in the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.